Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Clifton Boland. Thank you for joining me. I believe wholeheartedly in free speech. I don't believe that anyone's voice should be censored or hindered or taken down because other people disagree with what they say. That is a fundamental right, constitutional right. Just because you don't like my opinion, or just because I don't like your opinion, or we disagree with each other's opinion, shouldn't mean that our opinions are to be censored by those in power. Now, if I'm doing something stupid, or saying something stupid, like going inside a building and saying, fire, fire, and there's no fire, then of course, and anybody with a brain knows that you just can't go out and say that. That's not what free speech is. Okay, anybody with a brain knows that that's not what it means. But what it does mean, particularly within the context when the founders created it, was that you have a right to speak in opposition to what the government may be doing, or give your opinion on what the government is doing or the policies that are pushing. Because at the end of the day, what you say is what you say. You have a right to voice your opinion. This was the context of the amendment. It was the context of that right was that in Great Britain, those who spoke against Great Britain's rules and regulations, they were censored or hauled away. They were persecuted for that. Okay? And so the founders, when they came here to America and formed America and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, they wanted to create a country where you would be free to give your opinion or view on something the government is doing. You had a right to say that. Now, if you're not trying to cause an insurrection or anything like that, then it's different. But there's a difference between giving your opinion about something that the government is doing and an insurrection, creating an insurrection. Come on, Ma. That's plain as day. Anybody could understand that. Now, having said that, I want to read to you the words of a Attorney General, I believe in Missouri, who was on Fox News the other night, and he was giving his opinion about the Biden administration's Disinformation Governance Board, which I believe, in my opinion, is just an attempt to censor conservative voices. But I'm going to get into that after I read the short opinion that he said. So let's get into this right now. Title of this article is Missouri AG Schmitt, Biden administration will move at warp speed to censor speech. On Friday's broadcast of the Fox Business News Morning with Maria, Missouri Attorney General Schmitt stated that the Department of Homeland Security, moving forward with its plans for the Disinformation Governance Board, quote, shows how aggressive this administration is and what kind of warp speed they'll go into to suppress people's speech. Schmitt said, relevant remarks began around 2. It just shows just how aggressive this administration is and what kind of warp speed they'll go into to suppress people's speech, because they know the playbook's clear. You just label stuff you don't like as disinformation. Look what happened with the Hunter Biden laptop story. We know all that stuff is true now. And I didn't really follow the Hunter laptop story that much. I didn't really follow that much, so I don't know a whole lot about that. We all know that stuff is true now, but according to his opinion, it was true. We know the origins of COVID, the Wuhan lab leak. They were labeling all that as disinformation. Fauci, the ineffectiveness of masks. If you were calling that out, they were taking you down. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We can't let this stand in this country. This is a country founded on the fundamental belief in the First Amendment as a protection, that people can speak their minds. They can speak truth to power. We believe that that's the beating heart of this Constitution. And that's the end of his speech right there on that news channel. Now, let's get right into this. As I said in the introduction of this video, I believe that everyone has the right First Amendment right to voice their opinion, whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right or the middle or up or down or whatever the case may be. You have a right to voice your opinion, even if other people don't like it. But what I wanted to say about this so-called governance administration, disinformation board, this is a bogus thing. And I hope and pray that people see what's going on here. Okay? This is nothing more than an attempt, in my opinion, to censor the voice, especially since the midterms is coming up. It's almost like the radical Democrats are just desperate. They got to come up with something to create something so that they can censor voices that are exposing their policies, so they can keep it covered up, so that the average American will end up blindly voting for them to keep them in office. But having said that, this is a bogus attempt to censor what I believe will, for the most part, be conservative voices. But let me add something else to that. And I said this in the previous video. It won't just be the censoring of conservative voices. It will be the censoring of any voice that opposes or disagrees with their globalist agenda. The Biden administration supports globalism. Look, people, I don't need to go over how much the Biden administration just does not care about Americans. You got people that are registered Democrats coming out telling me that this Biden administration is a disaster. Registered Democrats. That's not me saying it. I'm not coming to them telling them, boy, you know what? You guys really need to open your eyes. I'm not telling them. They're coming to me telling me that. I didn't forget all about it. I said, okay, you voted for them. Now you're dealing with it. We told you. But now you got to deal with it. So I'm not telling them that. They coming to me telling me this. So nobody, we got this situation with the baby formula going crazy. Now, I'm not saying that the Biden administration is to blame for the shortage of baby formula, but I will say this. And I'm going to piggyback off of what my boy Anthony Brown Logan said, and I was going to do a video, and I should have followed my first mind. Okay, we having a problem with baby formula here in America. Let's assume that Biden has nothing to do with that. Okay, let's assume he doesn't have anything to do with that. What I find interesting is, number one, he knows about it. But number two, you giving billions of dollars in aid to Ukraine. Why don't you take some of that money and put it back into this baby formula situation for your children and your people back at home? Take care of home first, bruh, before you start sending money over to somebody else that you don't know nothing about. What's up with that? Come on, man. Now we got to stop. See, let me be professional. Let me be professional. You cannot deny that. But anyway, getting back to the censoring of voices, he won't just censor this so-called disinformation governance board would not just censor conservative voices, in my opinion. They're going to censor anyone that comes against their globalist agenda. That means that people who support the far radical left and rah, thinking that the far radical left cares for them, you are blind. Okay? In my opinion, you're blind. They do not care for you. They care about their agenda. If you say, and I've seen this done with celebrities and people like that, if you say anything that contradicts what they're trying to do, they're coming after you. So if you're on the radical left and you supporting these radical views, pushing CRT in the schools, that's not a conspiracy theory. That is what it is. These parents are not making this stuff up. These are working parents. What do you think these parents doing? Making this stuff up. I don't got nothing else to do, so I'm gonna make up this idea of critical race theory. Man, critical race theory been around since the 1970s, and it derived from the Frankfurt School of Marxism. So come on, watch my previous videos. You get the intel on that. But it's not a conspiracy theory. It's real. Okay. But you have all this type of stuff going on. Okay. And then you have the push to pushing the gay lifestyle on kindergartens and children. That's nonsense. They can't get adults, so they try to get the children. There is no reason for that. There's no excuse for that, but I'm not going to go over that. What I want to just simply say to those who perhaps are supporting the radical left, what I believe is that this so-called governance disinformation board that's going to be enacted by the Homeland Security, okay, will censor any voice that opposes the globalist agenda of the Biden administration and any globalist administration that takes over after him. That's what that's about. It's a reflection. Is of something. One source even said this. He said that the so-called Ministry of Truth, I think that's the name that is given, comes from a book written by author George Orwell back in 1938, 39, something along that line, and maybe the 30s or the 40s. And he wrote a book called 1984. And the term Ministry of Truth in that book, and I never read the book. This is just what I heard from people who have read the book. And they state that in the book, I've just read excerpts and portions of the book in other books, okay? But they said that this phrase, Ministry of Truth, comes from that book, and that the Ministry of Truth essentially was a government committee that was designed to control all forms of speech. 1984 was a book based on a dystopian future where the government has absolute complete control on every individual. It's a total lockdown. And that George Orwell believed that this would occur in 1984. Well, of course, that didn't occur in 1984. But it seems the more and more, the further and further we get into the future, the more and more the government, particularly the federal government, is trying to lock down on everyone. And that's what I believe, this so-called disinformation government board is about. Yeah, disinformation. Disinformation is, and I agree with this general attorney here, this so-called disinformation is the information that opposes and contradicts the information they're trying to give. But for people that support this radical view, they're coming after you too. So your best bet is to stay on board. Stay on board. Is to stay on board. If you want to, don't say nothing in opposition against what they're saying. No matter how radical it is, if you don't want them to silence your voices, then don't oppose them, because they're going to come after you as well, because they don't care about you. I'm going to end this video on this. And I don't want to, I know I sound like I'm preaching. I'm very vocal. Please don't take this personal. This is just my opinion. Okay. But I'm very vocal about this. Maybe perhaps that comes from me being a preacher, but I don't know. The communist dictator, I think it was Stalin, Joseph Stalin, wrote a book back in the 1930s, I believe. And in that book, he stated that those idealistic people who supported the communist regime but were unaware of what the old communists were really all about, I didn't say it, but he said that they're useful idiots. He called them useful idiots. And the reason why he called them useful idiots is because they didn't really know and understand what communism, the old form of communism, was really all about. It was about control, brutal dictatorship, brutal absolute control, taking away all your rights, taking away all your property, and having absolute control of you and everything you do. That's what it was about. But all these idealistic people walking around, we just need to bring social justice to everyone and bring everyone down on the same level and bring freedom and liberty for everyone. No, that was just a front that the communist regime in Russia created to blind the minds of all the people so that they could accept it. But once the communists really got in power, it all changed. And Stalin called them useful idiots. I'm just saying, think about that. I think that's what's going on right now with a lot of people that support the radical, violent far left. They're using, I believe, mind control and manipulation to trick people into believing it's all about social justice. It's all about bringing equal rights to you. I don't believe that's what it is. It's subversive, it's dangerous, and if people don't wake up, it's going to destroy this country. And we will wake up one morning in a socialist country, and if not, and even to take it a step further, into a communist country where you won't have any property, in any rights. Forget about your constitutional rights. That will be gone. You would have to submit to United Nations rights in their constitution. And it is not the same as the American Constitution. So I'm just saying. So what do you guys think about this video? What do you think about this attorney's speech? What do you think about this guy's speech? You know, do you agree? Do you disagree? I personally agree with what he's saying. For the most part, I agree with what he's saying. But I had to give my opinion and spin on it and add a little bit more to it as well. So what do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, share this video, and subscribe. God bless you all, and see you again.